Could I ask Canon Michael River to please say some prayers?
O God our Father, we continue to pray for the officers and members of this council, and for our chairman, Deanna Eden, and for the business this evening, including budgets. We give thanks for recent initiatives for employment in this area, and pray for those seeking work, especially young people. We pray for the work of training colleges in our district. We give thanks for the meeting held this week between district and town councillors, church leaders and the police, discussing community matters called the Church Forum. And we continue to pray for cooperation and partnership between different branches of local government. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
But I'm being too simplistic here.
First item is to sign the minutes of the last council meeting. Does everybody agree that they're correct?
Agree. Yeah. 4 o'clock.
Do we have any apologies for absence?
Councillor Johnny Abrams and Councillor John Shepherd.
Anyone else? Thank you very much. Declarations of members' interests. No? Right. Chairman's announcements. They have all been circulated, so you've had the chance to see them if you'd like to. One or two other things. At the last meeting, Councillor Charter was asked to write a letter in connection with the Joint Strategic Planning Committee. He's asked me to read this out just to bring you all up to date. Members will recall that at our last meeting, the Council resolved to write to the Secretary of State for Communities and Local Government, requesting that he revoke the 2008 statutory instrument which established the West Northants Joint Strategic Planning Committee. The letter, which was signed by the Chairman of the Committee, together with a leader of each of the 4 partner authorities, was sent to the Secretary of State on Tuesday the 16th of February. Hitherto, no response has been received. Right. Item 6, questions of... Oh, sorry. Yes. I'm sorry. The councilman would like to say a few words.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to say a few words, actually, because at this council meeting, the last one before the elections in May, I'm aware of 3 people in this chamber who were notwithstanding in May, as far as I'm aware. I just want to say a few words for May, Chairman. The first one, actually, I want to start the opposition with Abigail Campbell. I assume that Abigail is still opposition. I have to check. I just want to say that Abigail is very unique for me for an opposition member. That she has so much respect from everyone on our side of the Conservative Party, including our MP. Because Abigail, whilst an opposition politician, she always does it for the right reasons, and she is a very good councillor. And I know you recognise that in your award, so well done to you, Abigail. I know you have ambitions for higher places, and I wish you all the very best for that. But obviously not in Daventry District. I'm sure you do very well. No, seriously, it's a very important job. We recognise a good quality councillors. So you will be missed actually in this chamber, Abigail, when you finally go, but we wish you all the very best, whichever route you take.
Much appreciated.
Councillor who's sitting somewhere behind me, Ian Barrett, is also stepping down. Ian's been on the council 3 years, Chairman, as a member of the Brixton Board, and he's stepping down in May. Ian is obviously, I've known Ian for years as a parish council chairman many years ago. He's a great man for planning. He's always enjoyed that it's on the planning committee. And Ian has done really well for 3 years. He's been very supportive of our administration group, and I want to wish Ian all the very best, whatever he decides to do next, and thank him for his 3 years as a district councillor. So thank you, Ian. Finally, the longest serving member in our group who's not going to be standing, and he didn't want to say too much, so I won't say too much, is Kevin Perry.
Agreed.
Thank you. Kevin Perry, actually, when I first came here, was our group leader, and then he was leader of the council for a time. And Kevin joined the council, I think, in 1992, and he'll correct me if I'm wrong, because actually Kevin knows this detail very well. I think it's 1992, which makes 24 years. He really has served well in this council over those 24 years. And Kevin actually, well known in the Reading area, and he's had some difficulties over the years with his health, but actually he's always been a man who's been there, and I know he's really good. He's got a great memory, which is fantastic, because we need a good memory in our group sometimes, and he does know his detail. But I want to thank Kevin very much indeed on behalf of the Conservative group for his time on this council, and wish him all the very best, whatever he decides to do next, Chairman. So thank you much indeed. Thank you.
I too would like to thank Abigail. She has, supported me. We've worked really well together. Really sorry to see her go. Hope that I can fill half this chamber with red coming elections, because that would be. You never know. So thank you, Abigail. And I know that obviously you're going to still be helping me along one way or the other. So thank you. Ian, I'm going to really miss you, Ian, on planning. I really love listening to everything that you've got to say, actually, because I feel that even though he's been a councillor for a short time, he is one of the most experienced in this council chamber on planning. So I am going to miss you, Ian, so good luck to you. And Kevin, you would have seen some great battles in this council chamber, and I expect over the last few years it's become a bit boring, actually. So I wish you all the best, with what you decide to carry on. I'm sure that you'll still be very active in your parish. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Right. Item 6. Questions under Council Procedure, Rules numbers 10 and 11. We have 2 questions from members of the public. Unfortunately, both the gentlemen aren't here. I believe you do have some copies, but I will read each one out before Councillor Miller answers them, just so that they're on the record. The first one is from Mr. Paul Biggins to Councillor Chris Miller. Despite being imposed by your own Tory government, your Tory council should fight against the 16% cut in local government funding. In the interest of its constituents, your Tory council should also vote against the proposed increase in DDC's precept for 2016-17. If your Tory council refuses to fight and accepts the cuts, and further votes to accept the proposed increase in council tax, why would it not vote to forego the 0.8% increase in councillors' allowance proposed by the independent remuneration panel that it appointed? Instead, you should insist that it reconsiders and recommends a 16% reduction in standard allowances, a further reduction of 16% in special allowances, and also recommends that councillors agree to forego all additional expense claims for 2016-17. If you're cutting out services, we should expect your council to cut its cloth accordingly. We're all in this together, aren't we?
Thank you much indeed, Chairman. Can I just, through you, ask a question the Labour leader, actually, because I think people can see from this question is somewhat political. Is it right that Mr. Biggins is part of the Labour group?
No.
I'll let Councillor Randall. No?
No, he isn't.
Okay, that's fine. That's helpful, Chairman. Because it is a political question, obviously, as you can see from the actual nature of it. If I could just answer quickly Mr. Biggins' point. The first point is obviously with the Local Government Association, all councils make representations, as they do every year, about imposed revenue support grant cuts by government. The proposal we have this year, as we already said in this chamber, we're budgeting for a 10% cut, and we actually end up with a 16% cut. This council, over many years of good financial management, is very resilient to this type of issue. And all I'd like to say to Mr. Biggins is that we are a low council tax precept. We're one of the lowest 25% of the districts and boroughs in the country. And obviously we ourselves manage our affairs very carefully over many years at this council in terms of our budgeting. And the independent panel is something every year at this council, we have an independent panel that comes to a conclusion, and we never ever challenge that conclusion, because what's the point of having a panel unless you actually have a panel deciding what our increase should be. And this year, of course, is a very modest 0.8% increase. And it's up to individual members if they wish to claim it or not, but the point I'm really saying is that's why we have a panel, and therefore the council normally just says we agree that recommendation, whatever that recommendation is. And all I would say is that in terms of the rest of his thoughts, I'm very kind of to share his thoughts. I think they're the main points I actually want to come back on, which I think are relevant to this discussion. He should be assured, actually, there's many worse councils to look at. If he's keen on this sort of thing, there are probably other councils I could mention, which I won't do in this arena, where you might want to look and see how they're doing. But overall, I think the way we spend our money, we spend it very carefully, we have a big agenda, and therefore I think we offer very good value for money to the taxpayer. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The second question is from Mr. Ken Ritchie to Councillor Chris Miller. Noting that work is about to start on clearing trees and shrubs in preparation for constructing a new roundabout on Eastern Way, I would be grateful if the leader of the council could 1. Clarify whether it is the intention of DDC to build on parts of the Eastern Way field, irrespective of whether funding is found for the proposed canal arm. 2. Make a statement on DDC's plans for consulting local people on how they would like to see the Eastern Way field developed. Councillor Miller.
Thank you much indeed, Madam Chairman. I want to address both parts of Mr. Rich's question together, if I may. The Council's intention is to expand and enhance Daventry Town Centre, which members of this Council know for many years, to meet the needs of the great town and the surrounding area. We want to achieve good quality development, which includes creating places people want to come and spend time in. The expansion of the town centre includes the Site 5 scheme, promoted by Henry Boot, and also the Site 3 scheme at Eastern Way. The master plan for Site 3 seeks to set a framework for development of that area around water. This is to help create a place people want to visit and spend time in, as part of the overall attraction of the town centre. Consistent with our approach over the years, this is designed to work both before and after that water is connected to the Grand Union Canal. The intention is to engage in further public consultation on the master plan later this year, following which an updated plan will be presented for adoption as council policy. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Questions from members of the Council. Motion under Council Procedure Rule 12. We have one question, and I believe Councillor Wayne Howard is going to speak now.
Thank you, Chair. It's a motion. I'm going to try and attempt to do this before. Ofcom in their Connected Nations 2015 report said 1.5 million rural households will have to wait 2 to 3 years before they can get a minimum internet speed. Ofcom argues that internet speeds of at least 10 megabytes per second is the minimum required by the typical household with multiple devices to get good service to stream programs with access websites. Research backed by 121 MPs published called for a radical overhaul of the internet market and calls for the breakup of the monopoly that BT holds on the cable network. Progress on rolling out superfast broadband across Daventry district is disappointing. The latest available superfast Northamptonshire briefing indicates that a little over 12,000 premises out of 35,000 premises in total benefit from the superfast broadband. There appears to be no clear programme to the rollout to the remaining premises. Indicative programme plans show roll out to some other areas of the district either by December 2016 or December 2017. Large geographical areas are shown as not yet confirmed for superfast broadband delivery. Businesses are booming with 717 new companies launched in Daventry district last year as Northamptonshire's greater percentage of growth than London or Manchester. We are a district that is open for business. Northamptonshire County Council needs to support our growth. Given the people and the new businesses of our district confirm dates of the remaining rollout of superfast broadband. Therefore, it is resolved that the Council makes strong representations to Northampton County Council to clarify the superfast Northamptonshire programme for Daventry district and make every effort for a speedy delivery. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Guildford.
I totally support this motion, which is why I put my name to it. One of my election pledges was to fight and campaign for superfast broadband across the district. Superfast broadband affects us all. Residents in their own homes need a service they can rely on, and businesses, if they are to prosper, need a dependable, fast connection for their commercial activities. It's imperative that we help keep the pressure on to improve our internet connection. If the residents are happy, if the businesses are happy, then the district is happy. I therefore have no hesitation in supporting this motion.
You actually second that. Members? Councillor Campbell.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very happy to support this motion as well. I think it's very welcome. There's obviously great concern amongst lots of residents, particularly in the rural areas of our district, about the monopoly held by BT, but also the Department of Culture, Media and Sport's inability to offer any meaningful competition. And partly for that reason, I was going to propose a small amendment if the councillors who have proposed this motion are happy to consider it, and it's to include the name of the Minister for Digital Economy, Ed Vaizey, alongside the petition to the County Council. I think Ed Vaizey was in the district less than a month ago, and I think he was particularly looking at the rollout of superfast broadband, and he hailed the County Council as a poster council and a textbook example of how superfast broadband could be delivered. So I just think it might be helpful to use this motion as a way of illuminating a different side of the story to the Minister concerned. So that the amendment I would propose is that you make representations to Northamptonshire County Council and to the Minister for Digital Economy, Ed Vaizey, if that's acceptable. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Paul.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Whilst I absolutely support the motion, and I'm glad it's been brought so that it can get out into the public domain, I wouldn't want the answer to the question now, but perhaps at the next meeting the portfolio holder could bring us details and costs for any advancement in satellite broadband, madam. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Sorry, I slipped up. We didn't get a second until Abigail's.
Yeah, sorry, Chairman.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm happy to second Councillor.
Well, I'm sure that's that word you wanted to speak. Councillor French.
Thank you, Chair. I too fully support this, and it mirrors and reflects one of the recommendations that we've drawn upon my rural task panel that has just been submitted to scrutiny. I would the only query I have, and I have had some experience of lobbying for broadband, is whether or not it's worth talking to Openreach about it directly, and whether you can lobby them as the organisation that actually carries it out. When at Stratton we were looking for this, we actually went direct to the regional directors and just bullied them until they said, okay, we'll do it for you. And I just wonder whether that is something that can be done. And also note the announcements that's been made today that some of you may or may not know about Ofcom and what they've said about Openreach, and whether that will have any impact on what we're trying to achieve.
Thank you. Councillor Chandler.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, obviously I support the motion and I support the amendment too. I think that was a worthy and worthwhile addition. I was listening to the Chief Executive of BT this morning on the radio speaking about the Ofcom report, which recommended that BT and Openreach should be separated as separate businesses. He seemed to think that that wouldn't necessarily improve matters, and that matters were going to improve greatly in any case. They are being challenged, of course, to open up opportunities to other providers to make use of their ducting and tunnels. And they said this morning they were prepared to do that. Now that's important for two reasons. One is it makes it much easier for other people to insert the necessary physical connection. And the other thing, which wasn't mentioned on the radio this morning, which occurred to me, is that it means that these competitors of BT and Openreach won't have to dig up the roads because they can make use of those existing ducts and channels. So that's very important, I think. So I think we should keep up all pressures that we can, both as individuals and as a council, to make sure that they don't rest on their laurels. He argued this morning that over 90% coverage was already available, and of course that's people, not places. And we are sparsely populated according to them. I was told once by somebody, not from his company, but from a similar organisation, at a meeting in London, that they think that nothing of any import happens outside the M29. And that's been something that's lumbered us for a very long time. There is another point, incidentally. I don't know where they get their figure for take-up from, but they're not actually very good at telling people that it's available. All they do is put a sticker on a green box that's appeared in the roadside somewhere. You know, superfast broadband is now here, but they don't seem to spend much time alerting people to the opportunity. So perhaps that's something else that we could make sure that we make our open communities aware of. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I mean, first I'd like to say I support the amendment from Abigail to the, and I'm sure the portfolio is happy with that. Yes, that's fine. The second point I want to say, though, Chairman, is that this is not really aimed at the county council, it's more aimed at BT, because I think if you have a monopoly, as BT have on broadband, then when you have a monopoly, there's less competition, so there's less urgency to get things done. I think what we're seeing about some of the other providers, like GigaClear, I was talking to a leader of the council in a county north of us today, who said GigaClear, when they turn up, they seem to make a mess everywhere. I can sort of relate to that to a degree in one of my wards, where there's GigaClear actually putting the infrastructure in at the moment. But GigaClear actually offer ultra-fast broadband, which is better than super-fast broadband. And I think that sort of competition is what's required, Chairman. And therefore, I think that's what should be lobbying the Minister and the Ofcom to actually allow more competition in this area, and I think we'll get more results. I think, to be fair to the County Council, they said by 2017 they hope to have most of the coverage in the county done. So let's judge them on 2017. But I think a lot of it's not down to them. I think it's more about BT, and they haven't been very quick in actually getting things delivered. That's just the point I want to make, Chairman. Thank you.
Yes, I would like to support Councillor Chandler. It is true, we have superfast broadband in housing works, and it just happened, we happen to know it, because I saw a chap in the Green Cabinet, and the Green Cabinet had been there for 7 months with nothing happening. And I said to him, he said, oh, you are going to be connected. And if I would not have called, nobody would have known. So if you are a member in a rural world and you say Green Cabinet, somebody doing something, the Green Cabinet has been there for 3, 6 months, 9 months. Do and call also BT, because they will tell you. But very often they do not inform, because with us they didn't inform us. And it's when it started and after the whole village knew, but they will not tell you when they connect. Thank you very much.
Did you want to come back?
Yes, that's something I've got to say. Yes, just one practical issue which we have to be aware of, and that is that BT are proposing in many instances to run the broadband through their existing copper cable network, which is not future-proof and is actually limited in its speed. what we should be lobbying for is for fibre optic rather than copper band, copper cable banding. Thank you, Chair.
Fibre optic.
Yeah.
Councillor Howard, are you happy to include the amendments?
I am, Madam Chair. I'd like to thank the councillors for the support.
Members, are you happy with that?
Agreed. The amendment.
Are there any other amendments that you need including? No? Thank you very much. Item 8 is reports of committees. All of them are there. Can we do as we normally do and take them on block? So we come on now to recommendations of committees. First one is SG 09-16-01. Update on Clean Up Our Community Environmental Crime Campaign. And that's Councillor Warren.
Thank you, Chair. This report provides an update on the achievement of the campaign Clean Up My Community. It explores areas requiring improvement or redirection and sets out proposals to build on the achievements of the last 2 years. 4.1 shows targeted campaigns and encouraging residents and commerce to take pride in appearance in their district. There has been a fantastic response to the Daventry Town Centre cleansing campaign and throughout the district, with over 100 volunteers coming forward. Volunteers are regularly taking up advantage of the 60+ litter picking kits, which has helped to support over 20 litter picking events since October 14. 4.2 covers the dog fouling. No less than 42 organisations form part of our network of volunteers acting on behalf of 28 parish councils. Along with the high-profile introduction of the enhanced dog control powers, has achieved a substantial reduction of dog fouling throughout the district. 4.3 covers fly tipping, which has significantly increased within the district over the last few years. In order to counter the fly tipping, we work closely with the police, on-road trader and stop check days. We also deploy surveillance cameras at hotspot locations where possible. Environmental crime continues to be a major concern for our residents, particularly that relating to litter and dog fouling. Therefore, I ask that it be recommended that the ongoing Clean Up My Community campaign be reviewed and reported to strategy every 2 years. Chair.
I'd be pleased to second this recommendation. I think the initiative crosses both our portfolios, and I also think it has got communities talking again the uptake within all the villages and parish councils. I think it's very good, and the town as well. So I totally support this.
Thank you very much. Councillor Campbell.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Thanks. Yes, I'm happy to agree with the recommendation. At the last strategy group meeting, I asked about the extent to which our contract with Amy included communication and campaigning, and I'm grateful to Councillor Miller for following that up with officers for me. And officers have suggested that, well, confirmed that the contract does include an element of campaigning and education work on the part of Amy, which they might be viewed as not delivering to the best of their ability, or the ability that we would hope that they would do. So I would just ask, as we take forward this recommendation, take forward the campaign, that we make sure that Amy are as active as possible in cleaning up our community and in various activities, because I think the concern publicly would be an element of double funding, that we are funding Amy to carry this work out and then we are carrying out additional work ourselves. So I think it's something to be mindful of, to make sure that Amy fulfil the contract that we've awarded them. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Councillor Swift.
Yes, I would like to speak for our ward at Redford, because a lot of our villages have taken up, and it's on Saturday morning, and they all have a community spirit, and after they have tea or coffee, and it brings the old and the young. So in our ward with Richard, we have 6 villages who are all cleaning up, and they make it a fun affair for the Queen Mother's birthday. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Lennox.
Thank you, Chairman. I welcome the campaign and I welcome the voluntary effort which has already gone into it and will be going into it during the course of the year. And of course in both the town and in the villages, volunteers have been doing this for a long, long time. So I think it's very good that we're going to have some education and publicity put towards it. I would like to know how we're going to review it. Is it going to be on the same basis as the national indicators, national performance indicators previously? Is it going to be done in the same way as that? I would also like to comment that I think 2 years is too long a span of time to wait to see what effect all of this effort is actually producing. And I would like to suggest that in fact it's reduced to 18 months or even a year. Because then you can see that there is progress and report to the public, that there is this progress being made. I'm also very concerned at the moment that in fact we are the dirtiest country in Western Europe. I can't speak for Eastern Europe because I don't know it, but certainly in Western Europe we do seem to be the dirtiest country that there is. And it doesn't seem to be getting any better. And I would quote the lay-bys on the A5 in my ward, which in fact I looked at very recently and discovered that in fact they are far worse by about 100% than I have ever seen them. And in fact it is now a health and safety issue. So I do think that we need to take some very urgent steps in this direction and to encourage the Highways Authority and Highways England to do their bit as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have a seconder to the amendment Councillor Lomax has just mentioned? Thank you very much. Okay. Councillor Lambert?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Clean up my community. I mean, I can remember going back just under 2 years ago. I got in touch with DDC to ask about doing a community litter picking event, and I was told no, because litter and clearing of litter comes under enterprise, and if we go out and we start clearing the litter, actually that will interfere with part of their contract that we're making deductions on. So I went ahead anyway with the help of DDH, and we had a very successful day, and we went on to have quite a few more thereafter. And now it seems to be, which is really good. I mean, that's what I wanted right in the beginning. But it seems to be now that this is acceptable to actually clear up where enterprise is supposed to be clearing up. This week I walked the environmental officer around the back of the shops in the town centre about 18 months ago because it was a complete mess. I know that the police and fire brigade have been out, they've spoken to businesses. And again on Sunday I went out and took photos, and even though businesses have started to clear up, but that's through the Bowen Square owners have been round and installed new bins, the residential side is still appalling. So I would also ask that, I would like to know what our environmental team are doing to improve these issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ford.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I welcome the report. I completely concur with Councillor Lomax. She is 100% correct. I support the motion to bring it down to 18 months. I would have liked a year, but I'm happy with the 18 months. I would take issue with Councillor Randall, albeit from me, but many instances I've watched people picking litter, and I watch them along Eastern Way. I come to a council meeting, and when I go back along Eastern Way, it's strewn with pieces of litter here, there and everywhere. And whilst I have an axe to grind with Amy, our enterprise, with regard to their fulfilment of their contract, they cannot hide behind corners and wait for someone to throw litter. And a classic example being some of the areas outside the school, particularly Ashby Fields and Southwood School, whereby it has been cleared and within a matter of hours it's in the same state again. For several decades we have been fighting the litter problem, whether it be keep Britain tidy or Queen, clean for the Queen. I totally concur with what Councillor Lomax has said. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Hills.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I support this initiative, and I believe that there a lot more needs to be done regarding education, because quite frankly I refer back to when you as chairman, Catherine and myself went round the shops in town, and some of the things that we discovered at the back of some of these shops, quite frankly, were disgusting. I had a look round some of those the other day, and whilst some of that was cleared up, the situation is getting bad again. So it's not just the residents and residential areas. We need to educate some of our shopkeepers in the town how they keep the back of their premises, and they should keep them better. And as somebody who's litter picked, I think, on the South Brook probably every year since I became a councillor, I would echo what Councillor Paul said. My wife and I spent a day just round the school, and we came away feeling we'd really done a good job and it was brilliant. The next day we went up to an area adjacent where we'd been and found we had to litter pick again. So this is where I come from when I say we need to educate. We need to educate more in schools, we need to educate our residents, and we need to educate our business people. It's not an easy task, but it's something we've got to do in conjunction with these schemes. Otherwise, if we don't, I don't ever see us breaking the mould. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Guildford, you wish to comment?
Yes, please. Just to confirm, yes, the education was part of the AIM contract, and part of that contract also mentioned things like cleansing champions or recycling champions. We all know the contract hasn't gone how we expected it to go, so we've had to prioritise our priorities on the contract. I can say today that I've been at a meeting of a contract meeting, and we're not that far away from the end of the contract, and we're looking to change our recycling in the future. So what we've looked at is prioritising the contract and the improvement plans going forward. And so we've asked them to concentrate on the cleansing of the grounds going forward and to improving the service in those areas along with the cemeteries. But yes, you asked a couple of years about a local contract, but this is a national initiative that Amy will support as well, and we need to get them into the contact, but can I assure you that this is now getting priority.
Thank you. Councillor Wesley.
Thank you, Chair. I think really sensible stuff has been said here today, and it is soul destroying to see people making big efforts, members of the community picking up rubbish, only to see it again 24 hours later all over the place. I have to say though, I would just like to raise a point about our contractors, because I've just been conducting a bit of an experiment just to see how often they come round, and I do think it is very intermittent. And I do think that is a real shame. It's just been, I've been looking down Speak Drive in particular and just seeing piles of litter, and just sort of, I did pick it up down there, just let me see how long that pile of litter's been there, and it's been there over a month. People do come round, people do clear litter bins, and it's never ending. I do understand that. But I do think we need to be concentrating on hot spots outside, around the vicinity of shops, and that's probably everywhere in the district. I do think it's places like bus stops and outside schools, and along with the education, which is really important. And I think we should be. I think we just need notifications and notices, which are, quite frankly, I think we should be upfront with people and tell them not to throw litter and be quite rude about it, because it is absolutely disgusting. And I think I need to jump on it, and I think we need to be more vigorous in our language in how we deal with it, and as part of the education process as well that Councillor Hills has talked about. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Osborne.
Thanks, Chairman. I just think it's really sad that we're here talking about litter, people picking up litter. Councillor Hill said about education, you're perfectly right, but it's picking up litter. It's not difficult. We shouldn't be here having to, you know, it's bad. It's really sad that we're going to have to educate people how to pick up litter, how to keep places clean. It wasn't like this before. It's got worse as years have gone on. I just think it's really sad that we're discussing this in a council chamber, how to telling people how to pick up litter. I just can't believe it. But there you go.
Councillor Bunting.
Thank you, Chairman. I would also like to just raise the spectre that sits behind this of the proposal to move to 3 weekly collections of our litter bins, where the consultation is online, and I'm a fairly astute IT person, but even I've struggled to find it. It takes 6 clicks on the website to find it. And I think that's actually wrong. It's hiding it. It's not transparent in terms of what we're trying to do there. Now, whether or not the proposal is right or wrong, we'll let the residents decide. Not to have it front and centre on the website is a mistake, and it needs to be there. Otherwise, when we make the decision to move to or not to move to 3 weekly collections, it will be identified as we've done the consultation, but, and if you remember when we moved to 2 weekly collections last time, there was significant resistance from the residents about moving from weekly to fortnightly collections, and we were criticised because we weren't seen as being open and transparent. And if we do move to 3 weekly collections, I would perceive from the comments that I've had from the residents of my ward that they would see the waste that's on the A508 in the lay-bys, and colleagues have already commented, just becoming more and more as people look to other places to dump their rubbish when their bins are full. So I'd urge the portfolio holder to make sure that the consultation is on the front page of the website. And I have just checked, and I have it online at the moment because I'm trying to be paperless, and it is not there. So I would urge you, in the context of this debate, to make sure that our other activities around waste disposal are really open and transparent for all to see. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, I'm just surprised to hear that from Councillor Bunting. I mean, clearly that's not right, it takes 6 clicks, but obviously the portfolio holders will look into that, I'm sure. One thing I would say, actually, there's nothing to hide in this consultation, because actually it's about getting the best deal moving forward. And I therefore feel that, I think we got a little sample in this meeting. We haven't got a little sample next meeting. Okay, sorry about that. Because that would be helpful for all members to see the link. We want everyone to see, actually, because it will just show you how simple the new proposal is. And people I've spoken to, once they understand what's been proposed, they don't have any problems. Once they understand it, I can understand the initial headlines of worry, but we'll come to that in the next meeting, is it? So I'm very happy that all members will be able to see the link that hopefully that Councillor Bunting refers to, which won't take 6 clicks to get to. Thank you very much indeed.
Mr. Rowley. Sorry? Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. We're often saying to each other that, just to Councillor Bunting, certainly on my phone it's on the front page. So we will look into it to see if there's reason for the discrepancy, but it is on the front page, on the mobile website, and it is immediately available in their actual box. Certainly, I might add, Chairman, we've had over 400 responses already. Yes. We've had over 8,000 views of the site, so we're confident it is being widely disseminated.
Yes. I was just going to say, you know, best practice is 3 clicks, but if it's front page 1 click, that's fantastic.
So where are you going, Nick?
I'm pretty poor, but I'm not that.
Councillor Bunting is highlighting a possible link, we've had a members' development session on this. We debated it, a lot of strategy. I'm not sure if Councillor Bunting was there. I've no idea. Were you at either of those, Councillor Bunting?
Sorry.
Were you at strategy or at the members' development on this new initiative? Well, if you had been, you'd see that we don't envisage an increase in litter because we are supplying bigger recycling bins, and what we envisage is an improved recycling service. So there should be plenty of room in the black bins for any residue waste.
Thank you. I think you did come first, Councillor Romney.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I've had quite a few questions asked me just on those new proposals that I haven't actually done one.
Point of order, Chairman. This is like...
Okay, but I hope there are other interpretations. That's all. Then it is £35 per bin per household, because many in your villages have got 3, 4.
Sorry, we're not talking about that.
Okay,
thank you.
Well, it's just as it's on there. That's fine.
Councillor Irving Swift, did you want to come back?
Yes, just for all of you, the non-reader of the Daily Telegraph, today's Daily Telegraph had a very interesting article of the litter and how we pick up rubbish. So I would advise everybody to read it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chair. Just really on the recycling, if we're looking at the bins, I think we should look at the bins that put paper in things, because I think that contributes to the problems we have. We have high winds, everything gets
Sorry,
out.
can we stick to what the names, please?
Well, I still want to say it, so it's too late now.
It's all right. That's fine.
Right, Councillor Howard.
I'd just like to clarify for my access and communication portfolio, it is actually on the front page of the website.
Thank you.
Right, Councillor Warren, are you happy to accept the amendment?
Yes, I am.
Can you remember what they were?
Just said yeah.
Can I mention then, please, that when you vote on this, you are voting for 18 months, not the 2 years. All right, that's the amendment. So we have a proposal for this. We have a seconder. Members?
Three.
Thank you. Next item is SG10/16-01 Strategic Risk Register. Sorry, Councillor Miller.
You can't say good already. Don't be that easy all the time. Yes, strategic risk register, Madam Chairman, is part of the corporate planning framework, particularly informing the corporate strategic plan and medium-term financial plan. It was last reviewed by members in February 2015. We had a good discussion on this strategy group, and I put forward to Council that we recommend that the strategic risk register 2016-17 be adopted. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Do we have a second? Councillor Ford, would you like to speak?
No, just that we had an excellent presentation, our 151 officer, excellent as usual, and that's all I have to say. Thank you, Madam.
Who knows what to speak? In that case, members, do you agree?
Agree.
Next item is SG11/16/01 Althingwood Village Design Statement and Byfield Village Design Statement. Councillor Chandler.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'll be brief. Members will recall that we've had a number of village design statements recorded by communities. I'm sometimes asked whether they're still relevant in the regime of neighbourhood development plans, and yes they are, particularly for communities which don't think that they're large enough or rich enough to develop a neighbourhood development plan. And these two village design statements have been through all the process up to and including consultation. In this case we have very few responses from the consultation. We noted that people realised that Arlingworth and Byfield are both restricted infill villages under our current definition. Somebody commented about the lack of references to biodiversity. We felt that that was adequately covered in the core strategy, and a comment about future-proofing was reckoned to be inappropriate in a British design statement. It's something that has other references. And so the consultation is carried out. As a result of the consultation, there were a couple of amendments to the British design statement. And so the recommendation is, Madam Chairman, that the proposed changes to the Ardingworth Village Design Statement and the Byfield Village Design Statement in response to representation be approved, that further minor editorial changes be made to the Ardingworth and Byfield Village Design Statements to reflect the fact that the documents were in their final adopted form, and that the revised Village Design Statements for Ardingworth and Byfield be adopted.
Thank you. Do we have a second for that? I think the first one was Councillor Swift. Thank you. Members?
Agreed.
Thank you. Next one is SG12/16/01, Programme of Assets Disposal. Councillor Long.
Thank you, Chairman. The purpose of this report is to seek approval for the proposed asset disposal programme. This report is both straightforward and self-explanatory and requires no further comment from me other than to reiterate its conclusion, which is the sites for disposal in the report are all consistent with the Council's policy objectives and the expectations of the Capital Receipts programme. They provide a means of advancing the Council's aim both directly by enabling development and indirectly through securing resources for the Council to deploy in other areas of work. I would therefore ask members to agree the recommendation that authority be granted for the disposal of land identified in Table 1 in the report for 12 months from the date of the Council meeting. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Do we have a second for that?
Happy to second the proposal, Madam Chairman.
Would you like to speak or not? No? Okay. Members, do you agree?
Agreed.
Next item is SG12/16/02, Treasury Management Strategic Statement and Annual Investment Strategy 2016 to 2017.
Thank you, Chairman. The purpose of this report is to advise members of the expected activities and appropriate operational parameters of the Treasury Management function in 2016-17 and to endorse the Treasury Management Strategy Statement and Annual Investment Strategy 2016-17. Unlike some of my previous statements on this topic, this one will be extremely brief. The report before you is an update of information previously provided and contains nothing specific to which I feel I should draw your attention. The term steady as she goes, I believe, is appropriate. Therefore, I conclude by saying the economy continues to show very real, if fragile, signs of recovery. And if appropriate, the Section 151 officer will not hesitate to restrict investments in line with the approved strategy should there be a need to. Returns on investments will continue at a very low level for the foreseeable future, with security being the overriding factor. With this information to hand, I would ask members to agree the recommendation that the Council's Treasury Management Strategy Statement and Annual Investment Strategy 2016-17 be approved. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Corwin. Members?
Agreed.
Slight change now. The next item, SG15/16/01. Sorry, wrong one. I've missed it out. Smaller one. SG12/16/03. We're going to defer that until we come to item 12 on page 89, and then Councillor Long will take the two, and then at the end of it, when they've been taken, you spoke about both of them, we will separate them again for the conditions and take separate votes which will be recorded. So, we'll go on to the next one. Next one then is SG 15/16/01, household waste recycling centres.
Okay, thank you, Chair. At Strategy, there was a lengthy debate in connection with the options and stance DDC as a district council should take regarding the future of household waste recycling centres, or more specifically the Daventry and Brixworth tips. Points of interest to note from that debate were that the county is facing significant financial constraints. We know they only have a statutory duty to provide for one tip in the whole of Northamptonshire. We know that in the past they have suggested, due to the pressures they face, of possibly only delivering the statutory requirement, i.e. having one tip in the district. They went as far as suggesting a location at one point.
One in the county.
One in the county, sorry. Although there's been no mentions regarding the tip in the latest round of budget cuts, the real possibility of this happening has not gone away. Now is an opportune time, as our contract with Amy is coming to an end, and we're looking at putting a new waste and recycling service in, that we look at the future of our tips in Brixworth and Daventry at the same time. Perhaps by working with the county, efficiencies can be found by combining the services at a local level. The county have in the past already approached district and borough councils, asking if they wish to run the service. As with any commercial negotiations, the starting point was not acceptable to us as a council. Various options were discussed at Strategy and a good debate was held. I therefore ask you to support the recommendation that officers commence negotiations with NCC in regards to the possibilities of DDC running the service. I would like to stress this recommendation is not committing us to any expenditure. Officers have been asked to prepare financial reports in connection with the implications of taking on this service. A clear directive has also been given to them to look at how the service could be remodelled to make it more efficient. I'm not proposing that we negotiate a service like for like and that we take on a liability like for like. We all know Daventry is a more efficient council than the county. I'm not suggesting either that we take on a service that will financially burden us, but for officers to use their experience and knowledge to remodel the service so that we could take a more efficient approach. I am sure efficiencies can be found by linking this service with the work that is going on simultaneously regarding our own waste service, in order that there's a win-win situation for all. This recommendation is not to open the debate, by the way, that we had earlier on waste. This is about the tips. So, as I said, it could be a win-win situation for us all. The county's financial situation is helped, and DDC, or more specifically, the residents of the district, retain a well-used local service. Mothers are being quoted a lot in the press lately, so perhaps I can quote mine, who has always said to me, "Well, Joanne Marie, if you don't ask, you don't get." So I suggest officers commence the negotiations, and I therefore ask your support for the recommendation that our officers approach NCC to commence these negotiations. I also ask that you support that both myself and our leader in our respective environment portfolio roles and the chair of the NWB lobby the council at member level to ensure that we are taken seriously and that our intentions are known, that perhaps this is one occasion where we can be in a win-win situation for both councils. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have a second to that? Councillor Long, would you like to speak?
If I may briefly, Chairman, thank you very much.
Can I remind, before anybody speaks, that this was originally exempt, so nothing was mentioned about finances. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's right. Thank you, Chairman. I'm really very happy to support this particular proposal, certainly from the point of view of further discussions with County Council. I think it's the right thing to do, and with the information so far provided, limited as it is, certainly we need to understand considerably more information as to what's involved, Chairman, but happy to support it in its present format.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Morgan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, there was a very good debate at Strategy, and I certainly recommend or support the recommendation. This is a highly sensible approach. This is about services for our community, for our district, and it is important that if we can find an opportunity whereby we can take on running these facilities, and it is financially sensible, and it is something that can work for us, then we should be doing it on behalf of our residents, rather than just having one site which is going to expect them to travel great distances. So I thoroughly support this, hope that the negotiations go really well and that we can find a situation where we can continue having that facility within our district.
Councillor Collins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I'd just like to also recommend that I think that's a perfect proposal, because I think when you're talking about this rubbish around Daventry and everything else, it all links together, and I think for the future of Daventry it makes total sense to try and bring this as close as you can, because we're going to need this without a doubt. So it's a really good recommendation.
Councillor James.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I quite agree. It is a good recommendation, but I think it does need to be tempered a little. I noticed there was something in the local newspaper about this I was reading today, and I thought, I do hope that this isn't building up the public's expectations that Daventry will pick up the bill for Deanery for a tip if ever it should be closed. So I think we need to be extremely careful that if the worst came to the worst, and we were to find out that this is a burden that we didn't wish to take on, that we haven't built up the public's expectations too much.
Well, this item has been proposed and seconded. Members, do you agree?
Agree.
The annual review of members' allowances, the report of the independent nomination panel,
Yes, thank you, Chairman. As was mentioned earlier, we have an annual review of members' allowances by an independent panel. Here are those recommendations of the panel. Just to point out once again that one of the recommendations is a binding recommendation, that's the one on pensions, so you have to accept that. The other ones are for your discretion if you chose, but as was mentioned earlier, you have intended to do so, taking the advice of the remuneration panel. Just need to correct a mathematical error for those who read it in detail. In 5.2, you see the increase in the basic allowance is expressed as £36 per annum, and then you see in the following line that you times that up by 36 councillors, the number used is £40. It is £36, so just to be clear on that. And otherwise, Chairman, that's the panel's recommendations. £36.
Do we have a proposal? Councillor Miller.
Well, I just want to say, just consistent with what I said earlier to the reply to the question from members of the public, I think we should just accept this. Thank you.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm happy to accept this. County Council and several others have all made noises that we shouldn't accept this and we shouldn't do this and we shouldn't do that. Rip Van Biggins, I call him Rip Van Biggins because he only ever comes out once a year with the same argument, and we can look forward to this time next year when he comes out with the same argument. But at the end of the day, Madam Chairman, we have a choice. We will agree an 8%, but members, it is in their own volition whether they want to take it or not. Thank you, Madam. 8%, sorry.
No. 8%. It's no more.
0.8%. Let's try for zero. I'm working it out £40.
Thank you, Chairman. I think we should warn Mr. Higgins that we don't know what the panel will say next year, and they may not give us any increase at all, so it may not necessarily be bothered.
Right, members, do you agree?
Agree.
Thank you. Right. Item 11 is appointments to the Independent Remuneration Panel, report of the Monitoring Officer.
Thank you, Chairman. I do recall some debates in the Chamber previously about the panel, the composition of, and how frequently they were chosen, reappointed, etc. And the principle being to try and get some freshness. We had a look at that, and we've been out to recruit 2 additional members. Pleased to say we found 2 additional suggested members for the panel, suitably independent, suitably checked, as it were, and we recommend to. Thank you.
Proposal for that, please. Councillor Miller. Thank you very much. The seconder. Councillor London. Would you like to speak? Sorry, I should
No, I was just going to speak on it, that's what I was going to do. So we've got 5 and we're now going to have 7, is that correct? Oh, sorry. We've got 5 and we're now going to have 7, is that correct? But we've had 5 all the time we've had the membership, is that correct? So I just wondered now why we're adding that additional 2 on, because I obviously know that you want some experienced people on the panel, but you've got 5. So I just wondered why you're just going to have 2. Are you going to knock 2 off next year? Or, how is that? Why suddenly decided to we've been running such a long time on 5?
Chairman, there's no pure science on this, but the intention was, as I say, to give some freshness. But in terms of existing personnel, just to be clear, the earliest that one next go would be 2017. So they are on terms. So we can't dismiss them, I would suggest, ahead of time. But come the next time, we might say, okay, do you want to have 6 instead of 7? The point being here, though, perhaps more is better, the more eyes, the better, the freshness is what we were after.
Yes, I just ask. Councillor Allen, can I ask you, were you still happy to second that, or were you just...
No, that's fine, I'm happy to second that.
Thank you very much. Right. Moving on to item 12.
Agreed.
Sorry.
You'll be all right. You're right. Don't mention with me too much.
Right, move on to item 12, which is the one that we deferred. So you've got 2 here. You've got SG 12/16/02, Treasury Management Strategy Statement and Annual Investment Strategy 2016 and 2017, and also the 2016-17 Capital and Revenue Budget and Medium-Term Financial Plan Resourcing Issue. Councillor Long.
Thank you, Chairman. I may repeat slightly that, but it will only be a repeat of what you said. Before I commence my presentation, please may I be allowed a few moments to offer an explanation to members of the manner in which I intend to proceed with this agenda item. There are 2 items on tonight's agenda which the Chairman has just actually outlined. It was agreed to defer this item to be considered with the subject that I'm about to address, which also just happens to be called the same thing. Whilst, as indicated, there is considerable overlap between both reports, there's a requirement to agree the recommendations of the first report to a recorded vote, and then to agree to resolve the advice of the second report. Once again, a recorded vote will be required. I emphasise that the 2 recorded votes will be taken separately on the completion of both of my 2 reports and following any subsequent debate. The purpose of the first report is to inform members of the updated position concerning the 2016-17 Capital and Revenue Budget. The second report covers much of the same ground, but importantly includes the report of the Chief Financial Officer under Section 25 of the Local Government Act 2003 concerning the robustness of the budget estimate and the adequacy of the proposed financial reserves. It's not my intention to go through the first report in great detail, as that information is contained within the strategy group papers, the recommendations of which were agreed at its meeting on the 11th of February, and I certainly don't wish duplication. My intention, though, is to provide you with an executive summary identifying matters of particular note. As mentioned on many occasions, the medium-term financial plan should not be reviewed as a fixed plan or a binding strategy, but as a risk management model with underlying assumptions and objectives that can and should be reviewed and revised in the light of changing circumstances and new information. I therefore would briefly like to draw members' attention to a number of items. Firstly, settlement funding. Settlement funding in 2016-17 is down 16%, from 3.359 million to 2.818 million, a drop of 541,000. The MTFP assumed a reduction of 10% for 2016-17, amounting to 341,000, a difference of 200,000. Whilst they are only indicative for future years, the settlement funding shows further cuts of 14% for 2017-18, 9% in 2018-19, and 11% in 2019-20, compared to the MTF showing an annual 10% reduction. The percentage cut is approximately 10% worse than currently assumed over the life of the MTFP. In addition, the cuts are front-loaded, and the total loss in funding amounts to approximately £1 million. Worthy of note in this report is item 5.3, General Fund Revenue Reserve Projections. This covers the period 2015-16 through to 2020-21 and indicates a surplus for the next 2 years, but a deficit in the following 3 years. This situation will be carefully managed by officers, which should be noted by members when considering future expenditure. Rural Services Delivery Grants. With regard to this subject, there is some good news. The government has increased the value of this grant from 20 million to 18.5 million in 2016-17. Unfortunately, this doesn't all come to Daventry District Council. For Daventry, the funding goes up from £46,000 to £185,000, an increase of £139,000. There is also an increase of £69,000 for 2017-18, and the figure goes up from 80 to £149,000. All other years are in line with the provisional allocation announced in December. There are some transitional funds for those authorities whose RSG drops dramatically, and we've been awarded the enormous sum of £3,000 for 2016-17 and 2017-18. Non-domestic rate retention scheme, NMDR. No further meaningful details announced in the spending review on the business rate retention scheme, other than to announce the confirmation of the current pools, Northamptonshire being one of them. New homes bonus. The spending review announced a cut of about 2/3 in the new homes bonus to help fund social care. DCLG has launched a consultation with a range of options for implementing the cut. These are detailed in section 4.11 of the report, which I commend to members. Annual council tax increases. Government, in their figures released earlier this month, have allowed all bar 9 councils to increase council tax by a maximum of £5. Daventry falls into the category of being allowed to increase council tax by the maximum amount. Their current financial strategy incorporates the following key principle. Annual council tax increases to be set within government guidelines. The medium-term financial plan has therefore been updated to include a £5 council tax rise, which helps offset the higher than anticipated settlement funding. The government's own example for Daventry District Council assumes that this will be the case, and indeed for all those authorities in a position so to do. Growth speed. In respect of this item, I would recommend members to review item 4.16 of the report that went to Strategy Group in February, which referred to the Rugby and Daventry Rainsbrook Crematorium. By its nature, the subject of the crematorium and its operation is a sensitive one where I've been criticised previously for speaking in terms of a business. The papers that went before Strategy Group clearly identified the situation here which require addressing through the growth bid. I do not intend developing my report further, only to state that this is a good example of changing circumstances where processes and procedures take account of lessons learned so that future projects can accurately be presented. Environmental services. Members will be aware that much work has already been done with regard to this topic, and further reports will be presented to Strategy Group in future outlining the options which will hopefully ameliorate the current £1 billion built into the medium-term financial plan, ready for when the current contract for environmental services comes to an end in 2018. Chairman, to summarise the first paper, there are severe cuts in government funding over and above that previously assumed in the medium-term financial plan, not least of which is the 2/3 cut in new homes burdens. There will be more and more reliance on locally raised taxation in order to bail out funding shortfalls and maintain service standards to an acceptable level. The current cuts alone in central government funding will bring challenges in order to produce a balanced budget in future. But any further cuts will inevitably lead to difficult decisions around further service provision. This, Chairman, concludes my presentation regarding the first paper. Moving on to the second paper, it is once again not my intention to duplicate items already considered, so I will offer a further executive summary before moving on to advice. The Council is required to approve the 2016-17 revenue and capital budget of this authority, together with the associated council tax levels for the coming year. The 2016-17 budget proposals contained in the report have been subject to previous consideration and recommendation to Council for approval by Strategy Group. The revenue budget proposals also form the basis of the 2016-17 council tax precept that will be presented for members' approval at the special council meeting scheduled for the 29th of February. The 2016-17 budget proposed for council approval are presented in the attached appendices to the report, which I commend to members to review. They appear on page 90, section 3.3. Appendix 1, Appendix 2A, Appendix 2B and Appendix 3 refer to the consolidated revenue budget details. Appendix 4, Daventry and other parish special expenses. And Appendix 5, the General Fund revenue budget projections for 2015-2021. I would also commend for members' review two further sections of the report. Section 7, page 93, the first being the summary revenue budget requirements and council tax analysis. The second, the report of the Chief Financial Officer on page 97 through to page 100. Chairman, this concludes my presentation regarding the second paper. With this information to hand, I would ask members of Council to agree the following recommendations in respect of Paper 1, that the 2016-17 budget proposals be approved relating to A, 2016-17 General Fund Revenue Budget, B, 2016-17 Special Expenses Revenue Budget, and C, Capital Programme 2015-16 to 2020-21. Further, I would ask members of Council to agree advice that it be resolved that members consider and approve the 2016-17 revenue and capital budget as follows in respect of 1. Note the report of the Section 15-1 Chief Finance Officer concerning the robustness of the budget estimates and the adequacy of the proposed financial reserves of the Council. 2. Approve the consolidated summary management team revenue budgets and detailed service revenue budgets by team /cost centre. 3. Note the overall proposed district-wide budget requirements and the Band D council tax level for 2016-17. 4. Note the general fund revenue budget projections 2015 to 2021 in the medium-term financial plan. And finally, the Chairman approve the capital growth bids. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Do we have a second to that? Oh, sorry. So, you want to second it?
Excuse me, Madam Chairman. So a very simple note really to say thank you very much to Councillor Long for a very comprehensive presentation there. And also actually thanks to Councillor Long for the amount of engagement he's done on this very complicated topic and the very good work with our CFO Audra as well.
Can I say before we go any further that I understand now that we can do this en bloc with one vote. So, sorry, yes, sorry, I said we could. Councillor Frenchman.
Yes, Chair, thank you very much. I'd like to ask Councillor Long a quick technical question. When looking at the precepts, I noticed that the parish council's average increase is over 8%. Do you know if there's any plans for any capping to come in on parish council's precepting levels?
Chairman, may I defer that to the 151 officer who's been looking forward to answering the question.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just going to get my crystal ball out, and they've been talking about it for a very long time. It's always been kind of threatened, but it'll be very difficult to do. That's not to say that they won't do it. And I'd just say watch the space really going forward.
Thank you.
Councillor Pritchett.
Thank you, Chairman. Members, I do really have to object really strongly to the recommendation B in the special expenses revenue budget. And I'll tell you why. The poor old Byfield and indeed the rural budget for the special expenses is being increased, or proposed to be increased this year by 6.78%. And for poor old Byfield, that basically means that they're going to be charged £8,353 to cut a piece of grass the size of this chamber. And years ago, when I first brought this to the attention of members, it was eventually reduced from 20,000 down to a more manageable level of 6,000, and over the last few years it's crept up again to over 8,000 again. I would like an explanation from the Section 151 officer of why 3 times the rate of inflation for the rural area and why the amount has increased substantially when the job is not really done very well by enterprise.
Thank you, Chairman. I won't be commenting on the quality of the service, but I can explain, as in the past, the actual cost of that service hasn't gone up that much. It's the actual amount that we draw down from reserves, which, as we all know, reserves are finite, and as we reduce the amount that we're able to offset those costs, and that's been reducing year on year. So the costs themselves haven't changed, but we have been using reserves to offset some of those costs. But as that runs out, then the costs will be what they are. Also, in addition, I've explained to members before in terms of the tax base, and if you have a look on Byfield, your tax base has actually gone down. Now that's not to say that some houses have been demolished or anything like that. This is all down to people's circumstances, which can actually change the tax base, and that explains the increase.
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to say, actually, to put this into context, we actually are talking about 9% of the total council tax bill, because we actually have our name on the billing. People often think all the money comes to the Daventry district, which would be wonderful if it did do, because we spend it very wisely. That's the case. But the truth is, we're about 9% of the bill. I mentioned earlier, we're the lowest 25% of district borough precepts in the country. Because we plan ahead very well, we always anticipate that things which are going to happen. We've got the waste consultation, which we know once the enterprise contract ends, it's going to cost a lot more money to deliver a similar service, a lot more money moving forward, and that's why we plan ahead, and we're going through a very thorough process there. And so when the time comes on June the 3rd, 2018, and that contract expires, we'll be in position then to actually take forward the way that follows in a way that we can manage properly. So we are very keen to manage our finances, to focus on service delivery, Madam Chairman. And I think that's what we have to do, all of us, no matter which party we come from, to make sure our public can satisfy the services that the Council delivers. It is important that people don't realise planning ahead is so important to make sure we can do this. And we do it year after year after year. And we always take the challenges on head on, and that way we make sure we can deliver services at a very low cost to the taxpayer. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. So we will now take the recorded votes. Councillor Richard.
Approved. Agreed.
Councillor Barrett. Councillor Nick Benton. Councillor Abigail Campbell. Councillor Anne Carter. Councillor Anne Charter.
Yes.
Councillor Sean Connors.
Agreed.
Councillor Anne Cribbin.
Agreed.
Councillor Deanna Redding. Councillor Barry Preston.
Agreed.
Councillor Joe Guilford.
Agreed.
Councillor Liz Griffin.
Agreed.
Councillor Anne Hill.
Agreed.
Councillor Amy Howard. Agreed. Councillor Wayne Howard.
Agreed.
Councillor Neil Lerman Swift.
Agreed.
Councillor David James.
Agreed.
Councillor Catherine Roma.
Agreed.
Councillor Chris Long.
Oh, sorry, my point. Can't agree.
As I seconded it, I thank you.
Councillor Anne Rockford.
Great.
Councillor Steve Rockford.
Yeah, I'll do a Chris Miller. Agreed.
Councillor Kevin Parker.
Agreed.
Councillor Bob Patchett.
Agreed.
Councillor Kevin Perry.
Abstain.
Councillor Colin Paul.
Present, miss.
Neil Bailey.
Agreed.
Councillor Wendy Randall. Against. Councillor David Smith.
Agreed.
Councillor Mark Warren.
Agreed.
Councillor Mark Wesley.
Agreed.
I think that's it.
Thank you very much. Next item is item 13. Election fees. Excuse me, please. Thank you. Election fees and expenses 2016-17. Report of the Chief Executive.
Thank you, Chairman. Tonight I'm the Chief Executive, but I'm, as you all know, the returning officer as well. I'm speaking as the Chief Executive. Yes, sir. I adopted when I became a returning officer a set of fees and charges which are at least 5 years out of date. Best practice would suggest that we should be reviewing this as a council at least annually on the basis that if there's a formula put in place, it's agreed on the formula. So next year, we agree these figures will be simply a formulated approach. So best practice suggests that we should be setting out fees and charges for the range of people that get involved with running of elections. This isn't just the big national events. This comes right down to parish council elections and the new planning referendum. We've had the first one very recently. So I'm looking forward for adoption by council. A set of recommendations over on page 112 for the amounts that we should now be awarding to people who get engaged in elections, which I have to say are in many cases a couple of hundred, more than larger elections, even the smaller elections. We could get to 50 or 60 people involved. What I would say is this is the full list of fees and charges. There will be instances where some of the functions will double up, and therefore when you've got a deputy returning officer appointed, that deputy will not take a fee elsewhere on this chart. So I commend the recommendations to.
Can I have a proposal for that? Sorry. Proposal. Councillor Miller, do I have a second? Do you want to speak?
No.
Second. Oh, sorry, Councillor. Councillor now.
Thank you, Chairman. If I may just correct the Chief Executive. The schedule we're looking at is actually page 115.
Oh, sorry.
Well, that case, Chairman, no, it says
Well, now we know which page we're on, that's helpful. But I just want to say, Madam Chairman, it's been a long time since these things have been looked at, so I think it's very appropriate that it has been done now, and probably have to do is to recommend that we insert a recommendation before. Thank you.
Councillor Ashford, you second the motion.
Yes, I've got to say something here, Chairman. I walked in for a smile the other day. I walked into elections saying I'd like to apply for the job of camp manager because it's £300. and they straight away said, you want to go to South Northampton, it's £700. And if you look, Chairman, it is. It's £700 odd in South Northampton. Which is unbelievable. So although it seems a lot in their council, it's one hell of a lot in South Northampton. But yeah, I think
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just picking up on a point that the Chief Executive made, which is not explicit in the paper, and could we make it explicit that these fees will only be payable once to an individual, that they won't be able to claim 2 fees if they're doing a double role? I think that's quite important. I can see that in the paper at all. So no, but I'd like it explicit in there, not just reported, it's explicit. So if we could amend the resolution to make that clear, that would be more fortuitous. I'm sure somebody may second that, would we?
Have a second for that, please. Is that to speak or to second?
I'll speak and second, if I may, Madam Chairman. Just a small question. These fees here, presumably these apply to parish councils for their elections, if they're held separately. Thank you, Madam.
Councillor Wesley.
Thank you, Chair. Could I just ask why there isn't like a scale of charges for the sort of sundry items, the printing and the postage? I thought there could have been some idea of that to have in place.
Chairman, 2 questions. The second one is valid because there's a lot of money in the printing, but unfortunately we have to accept whatever charges put back to us. We use an external printer, which we negotiated very good terms with, and it's used by all the councils in Northamptonshire. And whatever those charges are, that's on through the election process. And the answer to your question, I think, was no. It might have been yes.
Yes.
Yes, I'm just covering the other point. If you want to put an explicit sentence in a simple way, that's actually fine.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. What I would like to see is the up to 8 hours per night taken out for the camp assistants. I would just like it set as one fee because in the past I did report it, is that people were counting slower to actually go and pass that time to earn themselves extra money. And you find that some count really quick because, so I would like it just one set figure because it's almost like job and finish and it encourages you to go quicker because you earn more.
Madam Chair, can I just say, I go to all the council over the years and I understand when you point to a degree, but I think it's quite unacceptable to criticise staff and deliberately slow it down in order to earn more money unless you have evidence of that.
I have.
You don't have a word with
I know I did. I did at the time.
Sorry, Madam Chair, I don't think that's appropriate to present that question.
I've got to make a point, Chairman. When I've done 8 hours work, I'm pretty shattered. I'm getting up in the morning at 5 and I should be tired and probably falling asleep when I come back. So it's not unbelievable that somebody should be slowing down after 8 hours, even staff. I do and everybody else does after 8 hours work. So that's not unreasonable.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. If I can just help with this, what we're actually asking members to agree is the schedule on pages 115 and 116. Members will see that the rates are per hour from accounts. The information Councillor Randall referred to was the comparative information which was used to benchmark. So the actual rates will be a rate per hour, not a rate for 8 hours.
Agreed.
Councillor Miller, do you accept that slight amendment?
I'm happy to.
So we have it proposed and seconded. Oh, sorry. Councillor Barrett.
Thank you very much. Just sneaking at the end, Chairman. Can I just ask whether these charges will apply to referendums at all? I'm thinking of parish-based referendums, for example, neighbourhood plans, or indeed resident-called referendums.
Good question.
Chairman, these fees will apply, but of course we'll have far fewer staff at those,
yes,
and therefore only the lines that actually occur in here that will actually use members of staff to fill will be charged.
Lovely, thank you.
I'm sorry. As I understand it, neighbourhood plan referendums are free of charge to the parish. They are. Yeah.
Right. In that case, it has proposed and seconded for the amendment agreed. Members?
Agree.
Agree.
Item 14 on page 117 is the pay policy statement for the human resources issues. And that's
Thank you, Chairman. The actual pay policy statement is on page 120. And this is something we have to do every year. And I think members are now find this quite familiar. We have to do this by the 31st of March, and we also have to publish this as soon as possible on the website. I've been all through this. One or two, I thought 4.4 was quite interesting. It's nice to know we haven't had problems in attracting staff, only construction workers, and I think that's because of the national shortage. Lots of other things I've marked, but if there's anything members like to bring up, we can answer the questions. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councillor Burton, would you like to speak?
No, I'm content.
Anyone else? In that case, members?
Agree.
One thing, please. One thing before we close the meeting. Yeah, sorry. Can you, two things then. Can you please change in the schedule of meetings? The strategy group meeting at the Jews will be held on the 16th of February, will now be held on the 9th of February. That's in the paperwork here. The other thing, can I please remind you all of the special meeting on Monday? Can I please urge you all to attend? And then hopefully we will have a little video on the recycling. It's only 2 or 3 minutes. Item 16, we have no